Alright, we've got our sign, and we're going to try to set up the CNC machine to be able to handle the cutout of our inset. So the first operation will be to go to our cam tool. So normally we're in 3D or sketching mode. This time we're going to flip to the cam tab. That's an insert built into Inventor called HSM. And we are going to go to our setup tab to set up our piece of wood. So on this piece of wood, we'll see that we have our coordinate system. We would like to always know where our zero position is, and I find it awkward to put a zero position in the center of your workpiece. I always like to work from a corner. So we're going to set up our coordinate system on this corner on the top of our model. So by going to selected point, you can zoom in and find that you can get your coordinate system. So XY plane is our flat top surface, and then Z axis is coming up. So that's all we need to do is get that coordinate system to be positioned in that corner, and that's going to be our 0. Next tab is going to add a bit of wood. I find the easiest way to fasten this down to our deck is just to screw it down. So trying to make that, build that into our simulator. So relative size box, adding stock to all sides, and then just adding a couple inches along our x-axis. And then on our design sign, we made our actual sign thickness 0.7. We're going to carve off 0.05 just as our first facing tool operation. So for setup, if I've got those three numbers fixed inside here, I press OK. It's going to set up our piece of wood, and if I take a look at it, one thing I think I was already in this position where normally we were designing like this as an isometric. Inside the cam tool, it's often handy to hit this tool isometric in order for you to put it into a natural position for the CNC tool. Let's see, we got our first tool path. Let's see if we can set up our first tool path. We're going to do a facing operation, which sometimes is handy to clean off the top of the face of the piece of wood. It gives us an operation to get started with. So the tools that we're going to always hit are going to be inside my libraries in a folder called IHS Engineering. I had to construct mine from home, so I just made up 3. You'll have 6 or 8 in yours. The first tool we're going to use is a 1/2-inch flat tool. So select that one, just lock it in. Your tool is going to look different because again I had to construct mine from home. The important thing is that the diameter is 1/2 inch and it's got a flat tip on it that's just going to shave off the top layer of the wood. Next tab is going to ask us what our actual contour is that we want the CNC to recognize as the carving space. We don't want it to extend to the edge because that's where we have these metal screws holding it down. So we only want it to recognize the outside edge of the pieces being our actual sign. These tabs are typically pretty much default. So it's asking you, hey, where's the bottom of the cut? And that's going to be at the top of our model. So that makes sense. The top offset is going to be at the top of the stock. So the top of our cut is at the top of the stock, and the bottom of our cut is at the top of our model. So with practice, we'll get used to this. The difference between our stock and our model will become more clear. These two numbers, as long as these things are increasing from these numbers, typically will be all right. Most of the time, Inventor does a pretty good job on this page because this one's a pretty confusing one to look at. So the next thing I find on a facing operation that the tool doesn't do a very good job in both directions. So I'm going to make it only work in one direction. You could pick climb or conventional. Most times I pick a climb. And then the last tab, I don't really think there's much to do. We are going to lead it in, fair enough. And it's going to stay down until it finishes a pass. So don't forget in your tool operations always to press OK to actually execute that particular tool operation. And then if you highlight it, you can actually simulate that tool operation. And often what I'll do is I'll bring up a piece of stock and show it transparent so that you can sort of so that you can see. Often I like to put it as tailing here too. I just don't like all those lines. There's too many lines. So when you press play, it actually simulates what you can expect to see. So one thing we're looking for is I have two screws over here and two screws over here that held this piece down to the deck. I want to make sure that the tool never passes over those. So as you can see, the tool is only operating where we want it to, where we've actually designed our sign, and it's going in one single direction, just carving off a very fine 0.05 inches off the top layer to clean it up, make it flat. You can control the speed of your simulation if you don't want to watch it in real time. Increase your speed of your simulator. Tinker around with what you like about the coloring options you've got, so you can do it in a variety of ways. All right, next time we're going to start to dig into this pocket.